Broadcasting live from the Loading Ready Run orbiting underground moon base, it's the LRRcast. '20th anniversary edition. Da-da-da-da-da. Hello.
Hello.
I don't think I said this last episode, but I'm Graham.
And I'm Paul.
Awesome.
If you're confused about that at this time, at this point in the process, then we have a problem.
If you're jumping in at this episode, weird choice, but go off. Happy to have you. Maybe go back to the first one, but or not. Hang around. We're going to be talking about now. This episode is sort of 2010, 2011. That kind of span of time, and it feels like we say this every episode, but. Big couple of years.
Yeah.
There's definitely some big stuff happened during this period of time. We were in on The Escapist at this point.
Yes.
Because they paid dollars eventually.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about that actually sort of at the outset before we talk about sort of The Escapist, the content we did for it. Behind the scenes, things were rocky.
Yeah.
From time to time with The Escapist.
So yeah, we had a lot of theoretical dollars.
Theoretically
coming in from The Escapist. But as time went on, their financial situation was such that the money started to not appear the way it was supposed to.
Well, it took a while even at the beginning, right? Because Unskippable launched in January 2009.
They turn their ears to listen to the performance that is about to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, Grammy Award-winning artist, Slayer.
And we didn't get paid for months and months and months.
Yeah.
And when Russ, because this was not his department, right? When I finally was sort of meekly was like, hello, we have not actually ever been paid for this. He was furious and was like, look, they have no, this is to his boss. He's like, they have no reason to believe us. We've never paid them. We have to pay them because currently they have no reason to believe we will ever pay them. And then we did, and we were paid. And it was, as we said, to us at the time was, a bunch of money. We were like, oh my goodness. It was, it was super helpful, because it's like, hey, there's a recession and I'm trying to pay rent. So that was good. And then it was sort of like, then it was okay for a while. And then it got really bad.
And, we had various, discussions with different, with Alex, who was the CEO.
He was the publisher.
Of The Escapist for at the time. And I believe when they said it's like our advertisers aren't paying us, we got no money.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I believe that, and we know in stories that have come out and people we've talked to since, The Escapist was very much like imploding at that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But we sort of kept going for a long, for quite a while, at this time. So we had ENN.
Mm-hmm.
LEGO has announced details of a Prince of Persia Sands of Time playset released to coincide with the upcoming games and Hollywood movie. To accurately recreate favorite scenes from the games, the set will include several razor-sharp spinning blades, 5 spring-loaded spike traps, and a 700,000-piece bottomless pit.
And we had Unskippable.
Yeah.
You look tired. Let me tuck you in.
And by tuck you in, I mean punch your face repeatedly.
That's how my mother always used to tuck me in.
We also, at this time, started putting Loading Ready Run.
Yeah, our actual sketches would go in The Escapist. And so that was, whereas they owned Unskippable and ENN, and they were paying us for it, for Loading Ready Run, they were not paying us a huge amount. It was like a couple $100, but we still owned it. Right. And it was just they got the rights to put it on their website essentially for the traffic. And we were like, okay, great, because it's not like we're earning. We were just, I don't know, Blip. Where were we hosting it? We weren't earning ad revenue anywhere else, so we were like, fine.
We're like, sure, yeah. And at one point, we Loading Ready Run represented like 90% of the video content. Like it was us and Zero Punctuation at one point.
Yeah, I do remember. I found this very funny that our first sketch on The Escapist we thought it would be funny to do sort of like a getting the band back together thing as a joke. So the sketch was like,
it was like an Ocean's 11 thing.
yeah, it was just a parody of like the scene in a heist movie where everyone's getting their crew.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
We need to move this couch from here to here.
That's it? It's a hide-a-bed. It's really heavy.
I pretty much hate you guys right now.
Yeah, complain about it, Matt. That's gonna make this go faster.
That was the bit. As a sketch, it's not necessarily very funny, but it's the humor in it is just how ridiculous everyone is and all their stuff, and then we're walking around in slow motion or whatever.
And then it's like, move a table from here to here.
Yeah, that was the, like, haha, right? The Escapist had, at the time, had shown themselves to be doing a bunch of serialized stuff, like Doomsday Arcade or things that were episodic.
Thanks to the help of our science advisor, Dr. Freeman, we have developed portal technology to take us to the real world, so we can destroy these users once and for all.
There were a couple comments on that first one that was like, this was okay, but I don't understand how this is gonna work next episode. Because they thought that all these ridiculous characters that we'd invented were going to then come back and do something else.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like it has legs as a series.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that was the point.
Yeah.
We had this sort of issue with The Escapist where money was sort of coming in fits and starts, but it was always late and always smaller than it was supposed to be.
Yeah. The story that we were given was that the main investor in The Escapist was like a Greek shipping family. I don't know why they were investing in this, but as a result of the recession, they'd been facing, a lack of money or whatever. And so basically we just kept being told like, oh, the Greeks haven't sent us our money yet. And this eventually reached such a head that we had a big group phone call. We did organized action. We had a big group phone call where like all the content creators essentially got onto a voice chat and were like, well, how much do they owe you? How much do they owe? What stories have they been telling you? What have they been telling you? What's this? And Yahtzee, who I really appreciate him being on the call, but he was sort of like, well, I've still been getting paid. They've still been paying me. And I don't know the details. I just know his contract was better than ours.
Yeah.
And so, and everyone's like, huh. And he's like, yeah, this is bullshit. So he started putting pressure on them to be like, you got to pay the rest of these people, So, I appreciate his support in that. But yeah, it was like us and the people from Extra Credits and Jim and it's James Stephanie Sterling, of course, doing the Jimquisition on The Escapist at that time,
right?
Bringing them on from Destructoid.
Yeah,
yeah.
Part of this was also because The Escapist was having all these monetary issues.
Yeah,
they started cutting back on what they were sort of theoretically paying us.
Yeah,
for the episode. So there would be like, we can't, then the contract for like the next, whatever, 6 months or year of Unskippable is going to be less.
Yeah.
And the contract for ENN is going to be less.
Yeah. We didn't have a position to negotiate from is the problem. Because they were like, we're going to pay you this amount for Unskippable. And we're like, oh, but what if you didn't? And they're like, then we're going to cancel it. And
yeah.
It's like, oh.
And it was sort of
okay.
Like Unskippable for a while kind of worked. Like, we were sort of in a position where we had developed a pipeline, I guess, for Unskippable.
Yeah.
So that we were like, yeah, we can do it for a lower price. Yeah. But it got to the point with ENN, like ENN was originally how it worked was we had Graham and Kathleen as our sort of anchors.
Mm-hmm.
Good day, I'm Graham Stark.
And I'm Kathleen DeVere, and here are today's headlines.
And then Jer and myself every episode would have like a feature segment.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mark Sossman, and welcome to Geargasm, where the future was yesterday. This is a floppy disk.
It was like doing a second sketch every week.
Right. And so those would be shot on a different day, and they'd be, a completely, written out thing, often involving sort of a third person.
Yeah.
That wasn't even like, often we would get guests in to come in just so we had like new faces and stuff.
Lots of local people.
To be like a representative of Xbox or, whoever.
Let me introduce you to the Blue Razor disc.
And so those were at least 2-day shoots, if not more. And so we're like, okay, less money coming in for ENN.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not do those anymore.
Yeah.
Let's do it just as a 1-day shoot and not do the feature thing. And we did that for a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'd forgotten about that, actually.
Yeah. And then it sort of shrunk again.
Yeah. And it still wasn't quite landing. I remember then we tried we did 2 episodes of this, I think. We tried the sort of the ENN newsroom sort of thing, where it was like semi-scripted, kinda, but not really. It was sort of like edited.
Us like sitting around talking about the news. I mean, it's kind of like Chill Point now, I guess, in a lot of ways.
What I think is actually more likely is this is a combination of a cock tease and a smoke screen. I call it a cock screen.
Not a smoke tease? No, you're right. Cock screen's way better.
And yeah, we did that, and we didn't really like that.
No.
And so at a certain point, it became clear that for the amount of money that they were willing to pay for it, we couldn't make an ENN that we wanted to make, basically.
And so
the audience was always kind of flaky on it anyway, on The Escapist. So we're like, okay, we'll end that.
And so the people that liked us there, like there was some great, Russ and Susan and Nick, and there was a lot of people at The Escapist that were very nice people. And so they were like, okay, well, if we're going to do that, basically what do you want to replace it with? We still want to pay you less to do a video series. What do you want to do? And so, it's kind of funny that basically the Escapist News Network begat 2 different shows. So there was Checkpoint, and we'll come back to that.
Hi, I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Graham, and welcome to Checkpoint, where we may not have asked for this, but these new cyborg parts are pretty awesome.
I got mine put in my butt.
But for The Escapist, it ended up being Feed Dump.
Welcome to Feed Dump, the show with 2 E's, 2 D's, and a Fump. I'm Graham, the Imperial Stormtrooper. Joining me this week is Paul, the Imperial Ton. And Kathleen, the Imperial Margarine.
I taste good on bread.
And now, some news.
Which itself was like a 3rd generation thing. So, we said that we weren't going to do everything perfectly chronologically on this podcast.
Yeah.
Way back, Morgan and I had started doing a show called The Whatever Thing. Terrible name, but here we are.
Queensland criminals who habitually spit on police officers will be forced to wear special headgear to prevent them from doing so.
It was very driven by Morgan and his inspiration by a guy called Zay Frank, who does not get enough credit for inventing the jump cut video blog. Everyone thinks it's, Ray William Johnson or whatever. No.
Hi there. Hi, it's March 17th, 2006. I haven't smoked in 3 days, and nothing feels good.
Zay Frank, as far as I'm concerned, is the father of the internet jump cut video blog and deserves his praise as such. He did a show called The Show with Zay Frank, and he did a video, like a little video, every single day for a year.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Bill Gates made fun of Negroponte's One Laptop Per Child program, which seeks to outfit kids in the developing world with $100 laptops, saying, quote, "If you were going to have people share the computer, get a broadband connection and have somebody there who can support the user. Geez, get a decent computer where you can actually read the text and you're not sitting there cranking the thing while you're trying to type." Poor people, right?
And it became quite a phenomenon. It was people that watched the show were sports racers.
More recently, he's done the true facts about the X Animal series.
You may know Zay Frank even if you never heard of this.
Which art amazing and very, very funny.
During the nights following a full moon, things get dirty. It's quite beautiful, almost looks like a snow globe. But, instead of snow, it's ejaculate.
And the things of like the cat being like, my owners have abandoned me outside the bedroom. I howl for their, whatever. Yeah. That's all.
Zay Frank is
that's
awesome.
Zay Frank.
Sleep. I have vomited 3 times in protest, but there is no sign that anything will change. My only other hope for rest is on the computer keyboard, which is nearby, but sadly no one is currently using it. I will wait.
So we were inspired by the show. They did an Earth sandwich in one episode.
Right.
Managed to get 2 different viewers on antipodes of the planet to put a piece of bread on. Anyway, it was a phenomenon. So we started doing the whatever thing, and this was initially a thing that Morgan was like, oh yeah, I want to do this, and eventually turned into me being sort of like, so are we going to do one this week? Like, get your ass over there, So as is not atypical, but. It was a thing that sort of, it gained its own kind of following. Eventually, I started doing it as well on weeks when Morgan wasn't feeling it for whatever reason. I think a big thing that people enjoyed was that we started off each episode with like, hi, and welcome to, and then viewers would send us clips of them saying whatever in different ways.
Right.
I think dicks and crows were in one of them, where crows gets hit by a car or pretends to get hit by a car. There was a lot of different people being involved in sending us whatever clips, and it was basically just we would talk about funny, weird news stories that happened that week, and then joke about them.
The Dutch again! The Dutch again! The Dutch again! 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 The Dutch again! The Dutch again! The Dutch! The Dutch! The Dutch! Again!
In New York.
New York! Again! New York, it's a hell of a town!
Some of them were more involved than others. The one where Morgan came home drunk and was like...
Basically what I'm trying to tell you is it's not going to be that funny.
Oh, shoot, I guess I have to do one of these. Okay, and then we recorded it anyway, but he was like basically wasted. It was a very funny episode. But it's like, that's the sort of we were just doing this in my bedroom, right? Like that was the sort of thing we were operating on. Eventually, Morgan would be like, no, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. That's one of Adam's first appearances, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, obviously there was ways to talk about fries or whatever, but we had Adam as a guest on. That's where the Dutch comes from, that early Loading Ready Run meme.
Again.
And so eventually the whatever thing stopped. But I was like, no, but I loved doing that. That was fun. I want to do that kind of thing. And so then I started doing the Fail House, and part of that was giving me something to do at work.
Those of you from England know all too well the Marks & Spencer's pre-made sandwiches you can get in train stations. Same sort of thing in Japan. Big sandwich! We send you to the lovely flavor of the wind in the meadows. A surprising deliciousness which you'll never forget. That last part made me kind of suspicious.
Because at the time, I worked at Rogers Wireless, which was they're one of the internet and cellular mobile providers in Canada, and they had at least some amount of corporately owned stores where you could go and buy a cell phone. And it got very, very busy through the years, or over the course of a year. But then basically January, February, March was dead.
Right.
So we would just go into work. There was a TV in the store that's supposed to be set. I don't know what it was supposed to be set to, but we just put it on the Discovery Channel and watched Mythbusters reruns all day. And so, it was just that. This is not a good job, but we made commission. And the reason that I was there is because I was at Electronics Boutique or GameStop, and they want you to push the gameplay guarantees because they're like another couple dollars, and they sort of track the store on that. And so the manager at that time, who I think eventually got fired for unprovably stealing stuff, was like, hey, whoever pushes the most gameplay guarantees, I'll give you a free game. And so I did. And I did get that, and that's where I got Eternal Sonata.
It is a familiar scene, one that has unfolded every morning since the beginning of time.
Just unfold your familiar scene and pin down the edges so it doesn't escape.
The daily overture continues.
Whoops. And a friend of mine, it might have been Morgan actually, who worked at Rogers, was like, hey, if you're so good at that, you should be earning commission. If you're such a good salesperson that you can push these gameplay guarantees, you should you should work at a cell phone thing where you actually earn commission. So I did. But I had nothing to do most of the days. So I started recording myself on my like Sony bar phone. And that was sort of the beginning, the genesis of the whatever thing. But then it turned very much into a thing of in the same sort of vein of like me and one or two other people just looking at weird news and talking about it and making jokes about it. And there we did like 30 plus episodes, I think, of the Fail House. We had like a picture of the day and a word of the day. It had sort of some things that were always in there. And I ended up using that sort of format actually for a show I did called The Idiot Room when I worked at a tech company in town later, because they hired me on in early Loading Ready Run. They hired me to do like make video content because they were making video sharing software. And so they wanted someone to make video content to put out there. They didn't really care what it was. They just wanted video that they owned. And so I was thrown into this like otherwise abandoned wing of the office with the other two people my age who were the marketing department. And so we called it the Idiot Room because there was no one else around. We had no supervision. And so we made this, same sort of thing with like, there's the weather and the picture of the day and the funny thing or whatever that we ended up doing the same kind of daily video blog content. And so to bring it back, when the Escapist News Network stopped, we were like, well, what sort of thing do we want to replace it with? How about something that's still kind of vaguely related to news and do basically something akin to the Fail House, but a little bit more structured for the Escapist? And that became Feed Dump.
He is rifling through used underpants, just suitcase after suitcase of soiled underwear to try and find valuables. Why?
Maybe this was a used underpants-based crime ring. Who knows?
If that's really what they're after, you know what? Have it. Because you clearly want my soiled underwear more than I do.
I feel like it's like explaining like dial-up internet. But back in the day, there was these things called RSS feeds, which still exist.
Yeah.
And so, the idea of Feed Dump was like you would have, these are just like all these, you have all these stories from different places in your
different feeds
in your RSS reader, and now you're dumping them.
Tony Perkins is the leader of the Family Research Council and once claimed that God sends natural disasters to destroy the lives of gay people. He had to escape from his house in a canoe.
Well, at least he had a conveniently placed Ionic symbol to climb into. Could you imagine if he had to sail on a driftwood log downstream, clutching to it, desperately, longingly, sweatily?
We're every week you have to sort of dump the mold and clean it out.
Yeah.
And these are like the dregs of the dumb stories.
Yep.
So what happened was one woman was cleaning her yard and she found a bunch of dog poop in it. And she thought, my damn neighbor, she's been letting her dog poop in my yard. And she started throwing the poop over the fence. And the neighbor was like, what the shit? You're throwing shit into my yard. And started throwing it back. And then they got into an actual physical fight and the police were called.
In real life, as in tragedy, each step taken along the road was made for the right reasons and made sense at the time.
Feed Dump continued on after The Escapist as well.
Yeah, because we enjoyed making it and people liked it so much, so we just sort of kept doing it. Eventually we stopped. I mean, it wasn't until we got to Moonbase Mark V that we eventually stopped. And it was just sort of...
It just kind of got burned out on it.
Yeah, we were just kind of...
Like, not viewers, but yeah, it was just like, eh.
There probably aren't better defunct sources of news, let's put it that way. You know what, if I was the kind of person who would cry, I might experience a little bit of sadness here. But not really a feelings type. So until next time, which will be a little while because we're still working on a new thing, but we think you're going to like it. Until next time, there may be better sources of news, but they don't have this hat. Feed Dump out.
Oh, we're on par with Al Jazeera America.
Oop. Internally, it was just kind of no one was really like feeling gung-ho about doing it. And if people aren't really excited about it, then we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't be doing it because
And
we do our best stuff when we're excited about what we're making.
Yeah, and it's like the time we spend doing on this, we could be spending on something else that we're excited about.
Yeah. While people still ask about Feed Dump and love it and everything, and I appreciate that. Thankfully, generally speaking, people have liked the new stuff as well and allowed us the freedom to experiment in that way. And I think we're very lucky that we have that kind of support from everyone watching, that we can be like, hey, we're not into this anymore, but we're going to go make something else, and we're pretty sure that you'll like that too. And most of our viewers are like, all right, let's see what you come up with. So that's nice.
And also around this time,
yes,
the Penny Arcade had started up something that they called PATV, which was they were getting into video production. So they had a couple of sort of internal shows, like they had like a behind the scenes of them making the comic, and they had some like D&D real actual play stuff that they put up.
Yep.
There's still only 3 guys. When I met them, they asked if they could have my amulet, and I had to say no, this one's from work. If you had an idea of where they could actually get a good amulet, like one that forms an entire dragon, their game, they're not married to the old amulets at all. It might even be a situation where you get something out of it. Maybe not money, but maybe money. I'll have to bring it up with them and find out for you.
They had some stuff from, Chris Straub and
Scott Kurtz. They had
Scott
the
Kurtz.
Blamamations.
Yeah.
Wait till you see this awesome animation I'm making.
Wait till you find out what kind of animations I'm gonna make.
Screw your animation. Wait till you see this one.
Stick this animation up your ass and watch it.
So they had a couple of different things, and they were sort of making I guess, an attempt or making a go of sort of having a video platform.
Yeah, this was the internet-wide pivot to video, if you recall. Right. Yeah, thanks to Facebook lying about advertising numbers.
And so and around that time, we had been going to PAX for a couple of years at that point.
Yeah, and they knew who we worked for, like Desert Bus and stuff. We were, on very good. Not that we're in bad terms now, but we at the time we were on good terms with everyone from PA.
And so, and then we were at PAX, and the finale of the Omegathon, which is like the big sort of PAX wide tournament that they I don't know if they still do it, but they do.
Before that happened. So we had been talking to Robert Koo was at the time the CEO, and they'd talked to us about like, hey, would you like to do something for PATV? And we thought, yes, absolutely we do. And our idea was for a serialized sitcom. And we had this idea for it that it was Nick Gunning's Big Score.
Right.
Aaron, are you sick of this?
What, the uniform? Well, they're not awful, but they do make us look like golfers.
And the idea was there was a guy named Nick, played by Paul, who worked at a video game store. And this was, unlike Commodore Hustle and Friday Nights, this was totally new characters. These were not us as us. These were original characters. And the idea or the conceit was that Nick was trying to get basically the highest theoretical gamer score. We invented this website called
Fragregator.
What the gator?
Seriously? Fragregator. It's like an achievement compiler site. It ranks you on all kinds of stuff. 360 score, PS3 trophies, Steam achievements.
Let me see that.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty good considering it's a worldwide ranking. I'm sitting at a pretty sweet 10,478.
10,479 now. Sorry.
Oh.
Wow, I'm nowhere near the top, but I'm in the upper 1,000.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah, I'm number 989, and I haven't really been trying.
which I still think is a very clever name. We still have the URL. And it was a aggregator for your Steam achievements and your Xbox Chivos and your Sony medals or whatever. And
I feel like the prominence of like gamer score has waned a fair amount since we started.
I feel like that is, but at the time it was sort of a big deal. So we invented this theoretical website. I don't even know if a website like this exists. It certainly didn't then, but it basically took all the achievements from all the different platforms and sort of did a Metacritic to them, where it kind of like aggregated everything into be like, this is your ultimate gamer score or whatever. And so he was going to try and get, the character in the game was going to try and get the highest possible gamer score. And we shot a whole pilot.
Oh, hey man, I brought some leftover chicken home if you want it. It's in the fridge.
Awesome. Haven't eaten yet. Been playing Mass Effect.
I thought you didn't like Mass Effect.
I don't especially, but it was the first one I saw.
Huh?
Looking for games to beat. Saw Mass Effect. It's got as many achievements as any other game.
Wait, you're using Mass Effect, a god knows how long RPG to farm achievements?
I'd have to beat it at some point. It might as well be now.
With like some really cool, in my opinion, cinematography and graphics and stuff. And we filmed at the comic store downtown. We like redid some shelves to have video games.
Yeah, I was whatever Greg was his name.
Nick.
I was Dale played my sort of out of touch boss.
Yeah, Dale was the manager. Kathleen was the coworker. James was your roommate.
Right.
I don't remember who the rest of people were or if we'd gotten that far. But yeah, we did a pilot for it.
Yeah.
And I was honestly very, very pleased with it. Bradley Rains did music for it. In fact, all the music, with the exception of the opening title theme, all the little musical stings, all the scene changes and stuff we would use for Friday nights and for Hustle, I think.
Hey, Paul.
James, check out what I just pulled. Honestly, I'm quite proud of what we came up with. Sent it into Penny Arcade, and they were sort of like, oh, this isn't what we had in mind.
Yeah.
No sort of further feedback about that. Just like, this isn't really what we were thinking. And we were like, oh, okay. You want to talk about it? And they were like, sure, let's Robert was like, okay, well, you'll be at PAX in a week or two. Let's catch up there.
So we were at the PAX, the Omegathon, and that's sort of the final thing of PAX. So they were basically done the show at that point. And so we went off into a sort of a side room with Robert Koo and, talked about what kind of stuff they were looking at. And we were griping a little bit about The Escapist at the time, in the sense of being like, oh, it's great that, we're excited to be working with you guys.
Because they just canceled ENN.
And also Robert was like, didn't know whether was like, are you guys exclusive on The Escapist and stuff like that? So we're like, no. And so we're like, yeah, they just canceled ENN, so we're not. And Robert was like, oh, really? That's what they wanted.
Yeah, he said as much. I think that was your best show.
Yeah.
I want you to do that for us. And so we went, oh, okay, great. Well, we will then. And so we launched Checkpoint.
Pooper. Love saying that word. Pooper. Coming up, game officially files for administration. Journalists everywhere mourn as the easy headline gravy train finally comes to an end.
We talked last episode about how, ENN was very, very dry and very sort of serious business news. And we sort of took that in mind when we were sort of setting up Checkpoint. That we're like, okay, we want to give it a different feel. We don't want to just do ENN, but for a different group. So it has a whole different branding and has a lot more sort of editorial stuff. It's more the opinions of the anchors.
Yeah.
As opposed to sort of dry reporting. And that seemed to work really well for the
PATV
for
audience.
the PATV audience.
When we launched it, it did have, and similar to earlier ENN, it did have a sort of a mini sketch or a special report, whatever segment, which eventually fell to the wayside because honestly, people preferred the other stuff more.
Paul Saunders weighs in. Paul?
Hi, Kathleen. The ways that game publishers are trying to stop used sales have been getting increasingly more intense. From friendly suggestion, to firm cajoling, to desperate pleas, and now to a dominatrix grinding her stiletto heel into your hand and yelling, "No, you buy it new or nothing at all!"
That doesn't sound good.
Well, some people are into that.
As with a lot of these pivots into video production, PATV as a whole sort of decided that it was not where they wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so they shut down the whole thing.
Yeah. And eventually, and I wish we'd done this better, because we left off with PATV. Our last episode of Checkpoint was basically like, okay, well, this is it. Don't know what's going to happen next, but goodbye.
Coming up, nothing. In case you missed everything we were literally just saying, we out. See you on Twitch, y'all. Look at us dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out of my outro.
And then like a day later, we decided, oh, we should just do it ourselves. And I wish we'd said that in the final episode, because a bunch of people were like, oh, what? You're still going? Oh, neat.
Yeah.
And, bad communication. But we ended up doing Checkpoint ourselves, and we really like it, and so do you. So, hey. While the full extent of the game's bare romance options have yet to be revealed, at this point, someone should check in with Peter Molyneux and make sure that his brand new mechanic isn't actually just having sex with a bear.
When you're producing stuff and putting it on the internet, there isn't the kind of gatekeeping, I guess, that you would have on a television network,
right,
or something. Nobody can tell us to stop.
Yeah,
doing what we're doing. It's just whether we want to or not. And so that's happened. It happened with Feed Dump, and it happened with Checkpoint, and it's happened with other stuff where whatever the original reason for it being created goes away.
Yeah.
You know, the contract or the purpose, the venue for it originally has gone away. And then we sort of go, well, but there's no reason why we can't just do it, right? Like,
yeah. It would have happened with Friday nights by now if there hadn't been a pandemic.
Dad, there's a leak in my suit.
Ew, TMI.
We can just do, if we think it's something that should exist, we can just keep doing it. Which is one of the really fun things about being able to, being in the position we are, that we have a lot of that flexibility.
In future episodes, we're already sort of beyond the escapist. So I kind of want to wrap that up. And we've been diplomatic so far, but this is years ago, so I'm sort of over being diplomatic. Russ liked us very much and advocated for the creators that he brought on board. The publisher, he never liked us and didn't really like him, honestly, after finally talking to him in person at one of the Escapist expos. We had some fundamental disagreements on sort of like healthcare and things like that. And he never got Unskippable. Like, this was admitted to us by other people later, but he didn't like the show. He didn't get why it was funny. Even when it was the Escapists' #2 show behind Zero Punctuation, when lots of people were watching it, he never understood why people liked it. And so actively buried the show. So when the Jimquisition was brought on, Unskippable and Jimquisition would go live on the same day. Unskippable would be on the main page carousel for 2 hours maybe, and then the Jimquisition would land on top of it and be there for the whole rest of the day. it was very difficult to find. They just made it harder and harder to find. And in that way that it's basically, you know how conservative politicians will like underfund stuff and then go, look, it's bad. We should do it. Basically, he would make it harder to watch and then go, oh, viewership's down, so we're going to pay you less.
Yeah.
And just kept offering us less and less money. And
at that point, not only had Russ left.
Oh yeah.
But Susan, who had been the editor
after Russ left,
who is also a friend of ours.
Yeah.
And basically everybody who we had some kind of relationship with had left.
Yeah.
And it was clear that the Escapist internally was kind of a toxic environment.
Oh yeah.
In that, all the people who are all the people who were really, talented, nice people were all having to leave.
Yeah.
As this was sort of tapering off our involvement, while our budget was sort of tapering off, we were at a point where we were like, I don't know. And then a bunch of new stuff hit with the Escapist with
they threw the doors open for Gamergate.
Yeah,
they were like, we can be the forum where you come and be awful to people on the internet. We won't moderate you. Come on over. And it was sort of around that time that they were like, also Loading Ready Run, we're going to offer you even less money. And we just went, all right, no.
Yeah, we're like,
no.
And a bunch of their other, video creators at that time were also like, yeah. We're like, we're not. Yeah, this is not a good relationship at this point.
Yeah.
And being associated with the Escapist is not doing us any favors.
No.
So, yeah, we're going to say so long and continue and just go off on our own.
Yeah.
And so that was the end of the Escapist stuff.
They sort of, they got bought out by like Defy Media, who also owned Break, I think.
Right.
And eventually the publisher who never liked us, he left and became Milo Yiannopoulos' CEO, and that went really well for him too. So, what a shame. And then the whole website basically just sort of crumbled into dust and then was bought by the same company that owns Destructoid, who are trying to revitalize it as actually a good place. And I don't know if they've succeeded or not. That's for you to decide. I don't visit there necessarily, but I had reached out to them. And so for a period of time, Russ was actually working with them as the new Escapist, and he contacted us and was like, hey, were you interested in doing any video stuff with the new Escapist? We weren't really in a position where we had bandwidth to do it, but we'd sort of made like a tentative agreement that like, maybe we'll do something. Maybe we could do something that could get us like the IP rights for Unskippable back. That could be a cool thing, because that one they own. Escapist News Network, that's intrinsically tied to them. We could never get those. That's fine.
And we don't really care.
Yeah, but Unskippable was our idea. Feed Dump, part of our initial thing, by the way. We'd gotten a little more clever about it. When we started doing Feed Dump, it was like, okay, but we own this show.
Yeah.
Right. And the same with the Daily Drop, which we haven't even talked about, but we'll get to that a little later, I think. We wanted sort of Unskippable back, and then Russ was not working there anymore, and then it was a whole sort of thing, and we just sort of were like, all right, don't worry about it. But then I reached out to their newer editor-in-chief and said, hey, you're not using this. You're not going to get someone else to do it, because that would look very bad for you. Could we just have it? And I assumed that they'd be like, yes, for this amount of money. But they just went, yeah, we're not using it. It's yours. We want to not be dicks. So, what do you want? And we went, we want full rights of the IP and all the branding and any graphics or music created for it and all of our archive episodes, and just we want all of it. Please sign this deal. And they went, sounds great. And
at that point, like the Escapist or the archived episodes of Unskippable were not even on the Escapist website anymore.
Yeah.
Like they weren't.
Some
available.
of them were on YouTube, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So now we have Unskippable again, which feels good.
The girl's name is Rorolina Frixel,
And she hates her parents.
but everyone in town just calls her Rorona.
Especially Scooby-Doo.
And we've actually recorded a couple newer episodes. Not that you'll see those anytime soon, but just because juggling a bunch of different stuff.
Dad, there's a leak in my suit.
But it feels good.
Yeah,
it feels good to have that back. Just because it is such a, that was our idea, and this happens in creative fields where it's the person who comes up with the idea frequently don't get to own it.
Yeah,
going forward, and even though it's not like they were making any new money off of it, we still wanted to have it, and now we have it.
Yeah. And like, I think it's important, like with Unskippable, it's not like we got, tricked or anything.
No.
We were making it on contract for them.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, this wasn't like a bad deal. It was just like they went, we'll pay you this much, and then we get the episodes and we own the show. And it was like, yes, that's how that works. That's fine. We've signed other bad deals, but not that one. But then it was just getting sort of like, lower and lower and lower.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to share it now because I don't want to talk about it when we talk about the genesis of Friday nights, but we did the Commodore Hustle episode about It's Magic.
Well, you still cheated at Magic, the game.
Did I?
Right, about like the Magic the Gathering one. And then we went to PAX and we pitched the thing, and we'll talk about that. I think next episode is how that works chronologically. But after we announced that we were doing this show with Wizards of the Coast, I get a phone call or an email. I can't remember how he contacted me. I think it was a phone call from the publisher at The Escapist, who was so mad at me because he thought, because they'd been doing like a sponsorship thing with Wizards for a D&D thing, whatever. And he thought that I had somehow done a back channel through their connections that their advertising manager had worked very hard for. And how dare I abuse the trust and the support that they'd given us over the years to go around them and to cut The Escapist out of the deal to be doing a video series with Wizards of the Coast. And I was just like, holy crap, dude, that's not what happened. Let me explain what happened. And I think you owe me an apology. And for what it's worth, he did apologize. But I was just like, man, this guy is not well. So
he was probably under a lot of pressure at the time.
Self-inflicted, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so that was, what started out so great, and indeed was great, and was really important for us and our growth. It's a shame that the way that our relationship with The Escapist ended, but it was great for a while.
It is one of those things where, like, obviously you don't know, you can't tell how things would have gone in a different world, but there's no question that was that the not only the money, but the idea that what we were doing was something that was sort of, that was worth money, was worth, and that if The Escapist is willing to pay for us to do all this stuff, then maybe, then other people would be too. And this could actually be a real thing. That aspect of it, even with all the bullshit that happened later, was still something that I am very thankful for them.
Yeah. It allowed us also around this time to move into Moonbase Mark III, where we would stay for about 5 years.
Is that a butt?
Yes.
We are not decorating the Moonbase entrance to look like a diseased butthole.
But it's symbolic.
Of what? Halloween is about eating too much candy.
Exactly.
And what's with the giant stack of papers?
Hey, that's the complete minutes from the 2014 UN Climate Change Summit.
I don't get it.
Well, have you read them?
No.
They're horrifying.
Yeah, we did that one for quite a long time.
Yeah, this was a good Moonbase, much nicer landlord.
Yeah,
I mean, James, he showed up in a video, Landlord James.
Yeah, it was seriously one of the coolest Mythbusters I've seen. They had an entire bank of these rocket-propelled arrows It was pretty awesome.
Hey guys.
Oh, hey, Landlord James.
Why do you always have to call me that?
Well, we already have our own James, so...
Well, how about Sir James Von Landlord?
Yeah,
I guess that works.
Yeah, that works. What's up?
Oh, right. Sorry, you gotta leave.
He was always nice to us, but I think I mentioned that he went to Turks and Caicos every year. I think he's still there because if he comes back, he'll get dinged for tax fraud.
Yeah, there was weird,
allegedly
like Kabuki cabs left.
Yeah.
Were just like
the petty
gone.
cab company just disappeared.
It was just gone, and there was like a news article about some weird connections that he had and different things. So we were like, oh, okay.
But Glenn, who also appeared in a video, who was our landlord at Moonbase Mark III.
Hey guys.
Oh, hey Glenn, what's up?
I just came by for the rent check. What is it you guys do again?
Video content for the internet.
Really? All four of you?
Well, not all at once, usually.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, anyways, when you get a chance with that check...
Oh, yeah, no worries, Glenn. Kathleen and Matt are hard at work making that rent money for us right now, actually. Hey, Kathleen, what's up? We're just about to start shooting the Twiddle video. How's Operation Pussy Cash working out?
I don't think I need to know about that, so...
Oh man, I broke the shaft.
What?
Of the mic. It fell right off.
Oh man.
Really nice guy. Super decent dude. And yeah, we had a lot of fun at Mark III, and we were there for quite a while. Some of what you've heard today and everything that you'll hear next episode as well.
Yeah, I remember when we moved into Moonbase Mark III, we had a couple of offices, we had the upstairs and downstairs and stuff. And I remember sort of feeling like, okay, this is not, it's not huge, but this is big enough to sort of be a company and to kind of prove that we can do sort of all the stuff that we want to do.
Yeah.
Being sort of cramped in the office and not having room to do it won't be an excuse.
Yeah.
Of course, obviously, as time goes on and your ambitions increase with the space that we have, and we started coming up with all sorts of other things we wanted to do. But that was it was sort of like, yeah, this is big enough that this is we can have a bunch of people in here, and we can do we can have a couple of sets, and we can do all the things that we really want to do. So that was big, and we had a couple of desert buses there, and all sorts of fun stuff.
And the other notable ongoing piece of content that launched during this period of time would be the crap shots.
Right.
Yeah, well, no, I know. It's whatever. I mean, he just wants to be in movies anyway. He'll be leaving when his contract is up, so that's at least something to look. Hang on for a second. Everything in the fridge is mine! Dick! No, not you.
But we can talk a little bit more about that with Alex and Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go talk to Alex and Cameron. They're our guests for this episode.
Come with us.
And now we are here. Paul and I are joined by Cameron and Alex. And
you can tell the difference between them.
Yeah, the timbre of the
honks.
honk. Yeah. That was the crap shots noise.
Yeah, that was from the very beginning. That was my I don't even remember what prompted me to make that bizarre noise. I think it was just kind of a punctuation.
Have you ever needed prompting to make a bizarre noise?
No.
James was, sort of like putting together the various pairings for sort of when people were joining the squad or whatever, and this, the dates don't exactly line up for everybody, but
so Cam goes with white wine.
I see. Delicious. And so this sort of makes sense. I mean, you two have always been a terrific on-screen pair as well, certainly in Commodore Hustle episodes. Yeah. But we've known Alex since high school.
Yeah,
even though you were a couple of years ahead of us.
My sort of relationship with the site goes way back. Because you were in high school, and so was I at vaguely the same time. I think I knew you more than Paul.
Different high school, so yeah.
That'd do it. And then when I moved to Toronto in 2002, I did a little bit of content for the site I became your sort of like foreign correspondent.
Yeah, there was like a Batsu thing that you did.
Yeah.
And I thought there was like one other thing.
I did an
came through.
There was like a rock, paper, scissors thing, but I think that was the Batsu
Yeah,
thing.
that was the Batsu thing. And then there was I recall being part of
You'd like
I want to say whatever thing or one.
There's like a man cooking thing that you were on
yes,
too?
I did that as well.
Welcome to another edition of Man Cooking! Today we'll be cooking toast! What? There is so much meat here! I will need an ally to defeat this!
Oh, the salted steak.
Yeah, which is
delicious. Yeah. But but you were involved before you left, because do you remember the first video that you were in? James has these all written down.
Ways to leave a room?
Ways to make someone leave a room.
Right. Filmed at our house.
Yeah. Was this on New Year's? Why were we all there so late?
Don't remember.
I think it was New Year's. And we were there was a bunch of people there. Some people in the video you may never see again.
I could
now that
believe
I
it.
think about it. I should look up the cast
I mean,
list.
that's a hell of a way to refer to Bill.
I mean, we've definitely talked about the early years, sort of almost pre-loading ready run, early loading ready run, that there was a lot of stuff that was, Graham just carried his camera around everywhere.
I have faint memories of that, like the sleep deprivation experiment.
20 to 9 on Sunday evening. Derek has very much dropped out of the running. James is
still apparently in.
He's still apparently in, but he won't be tonight because he has to work tomorrow or something. And Bill just had a fantastic spoonerism referring to a boater mic. Basically, our grammar is just sketchy at best.
Stuff like that, which was
that was later on. That was a little later, but yeah. There's some of those early, especially X Ways to Y, was just like, hey, there's a critical volume of people here.
Let's do a bunch of goofy jokes in a theme.
Record a thing. Oh wait, right. We have this website that we can put it up on.
Yeah.
The idea that it would actually be like content on the website was almost like secondary sometimes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shots in this particular video and the ways to make someone leave a room was one of the bits was like, it was just called THX, and the bit was that you turn on the THX intro and it's really loud, but we didn't have the audio for it because these are all silent with just the piano music in the background. And so getting across only visually a joke that is entirely sound based, I think worked really well. And it's just like someone sitting there and they go like, check this out. And they like turn on their stereo, and then like the two people like barreling back in the seats, one of them like grabbing their ears, and the camera shakes more and more violently. And then people off camera, we're just like throwing fast food detritus and just like,
I'm pretty sure you totally see people's hands like
I think so.
Shot.
Yeah. It
It's
worked
like,
really well though.
Maybe Jackass did the best version of that, but I think we did it first.
Yeah.
Because they used an actual jet engine.
Doing the Maxell logo of like the guy in the chair.
Whoosh.
It's very good. I'm looking at the wiki entry for that video now, and it's according to the DVD commentary, our friend Kate, not my sister, was asleep on the floor the entire time we were filming.
Right. What a weird thing to remember. Yeah, she was just like conked out, like not drunk or anything.
No.
She was just sleeping.
Just asleep and slept through all of the stuff we were doing. We weren't like trying to be quiet either. She was just really, really tired.
Wow.
Do you actually, before we continue, do you remember, Cameron, your first video?
I think it was an ENN video.
Oh, gosh, it might have been. The first sketch. So this is the thing. The first sketch that you were in was the Desert Bus Trailers. which was from 2010. It was filmed during Desert Bus 4, which is why no one remembers it.
Right.
So don't worry about that.
Okay.
And it was like, it was, hey, Loading Ready Run still needs to do a video, so what we're going to do is we're going to film it during Desert Bus, and we used the iMovie Make Me a Movie trailer.
Oh, wow.
Thing. And it was like, okay, like, you would say, like, I need like a noir trailer, and then iMovie would be like, all right, you need a shot of this, and a shot of this, and a shot of this. And so we filmed all that stuff at Desert Bus.
I have no recollection of what the actual content was, but I remember that checklist.
Yeah. And like, there's a massive cast list for this. Apparently you and I ran camera for it, Alex.
Did we?
Apparently. And what I love, again, this note, Jer's introduction in this video was filmed during his 24-hour shift.
Oh, Lord.
Meaning 24-hour driving shifts were a mistake. Meaning that viewers on The Escapist were able to watch this video right after it was posted and then went to Desert Bus. Jer was still driving.
That's messed up, man.
Wow.
Let me see. What's your second furthest filmography, perhaps? Let's see.
Yeah, were you in any of the stuff that was up in Prince George?
No, I don't think so.
No,
because that's where
that's the sort of connection.
That's where
right?
Kathleen.
Yeah, that's how I became involved.
Yeah,
really was that I was going to university at UNBC at the same time as Kathleen, and we had friends in common. And I actually remember meeting you, Graham, at a Canadian University journalism event.
No way.
Because I was in Edmonton seeing a Weaker Thans / the Constantines doubleheader concert. And we went to the bar at U of A.
Oh, Scholars?
Yeah, Scholars in the basement.
Was this the same like Power Cup conference?
This would have been when I met Kathleen. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. And I saw Kathleen and her other friend there, and she introduced me to you. But it was just like in passing, one of those things where you're like both like two beers in, optimistically, and are like, oh, hey, nice to meet you.
What's up?
Yeah.
So for both of you, you were sort of friends of the group before you were actually like in Victoria and able to participate fully in the thing.
Yeah. Like when I moved to Victoria in 2009, I moved here to go back to school because I had been living in Prince George and working there, and I was kind of in a job that I liked, but I mean, probably wasn't going to go anywhere that interesting. And the person I was dating at the time was going back to school as well. So we both thought, we'll just go back to school for a couple of years. And
I did not realize you moved back the same year I did.
Yeah. Because what had happened was that I wanted to complete my degree in chemistry because I had started off leaving high school and wanting to do chemistry, and it didn't go so hot because, I was
you needed to use an ice bath.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Limit reaction speed. Because I was a very smart kid in high school, which means I never needed to study or do anything.
Ooh.
Right. And so
you
that
get to university and get ranched for it.
Yeah, that boat didn't float in university. And so I wound up going back home and completing my degree in English. But it was always this thing that I have never been able, that was just like sitting uncompleted or incomplete in my list of like things that I wanted to do in my life. And this is, I feel, a character trait that gets communicated somewhat in my video game streams. Where I'm like, no, I have started this and I'm going to complete it. So I did. And that's why I'm here.
Right on.
And whereas I remember your involvement in like Desert Bus and the sketches. I mean, for Desert Bus, I don't actually remember how involved you were in Desert Bus 4, but I know that certainly for the sketches, Kathleen was like, hey, we should get Cam in some sketches because he's really funny. And I remember specifically one of the early ones was the one where you're being like vaguely haunted by James as a ghost.
Being told by a time traveler that Time Cop is the apex of human artistic achievement has been the most shattering experience of my life. Also, you just made a Time Cop reference in all seriousness, in a conversation with a total stranger, and you're the one who did the breaking up? The hell is wrong with you, man? Why would you break up with a girl who would put up with that sort of thing on a regular basis?
I said it was a terrible mistake. Look, I don't have much time. Please help me.
What's in it for me?
What?
You're from the future. You must know something. Elections, natural disasters, sporting events. Give me something to work with.
I'm from a week in the future.
Right.
And you're just like, you're just a real ass to him, and it was very funny.
Right, yeah, there was some kind of like time travel thing.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
James was like, wait, you can see me? Okay, help. Why?
Right, yeah, because he's like my roommate.
Something
or
like that, yeah.
Like a vague acquaintance.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yeah, I know that Kathleen was really instrumental in being like, no, Cameron, come here, do this funny thing that we do. And then, Alex, you were here. You had come back for Desert Bus 3, and then was it right after Desert Bus that you moved in?
I think so. It was like pretty shortly after there, because like I came back intending to be there for a little while, and then I was like, no, I think I would like to be back on the island again, because things had kind of like petered out in Toronto for me. So then I lived with you and then Kathleen.
Yeah. And I recall this is the genesis of the crap shots is literally that you were like, I would like to do stuff with Loading Ready Run. I like what you guys are doing. It seems like a lot of fun. I would like to be involved. And I went, well, there's nothing really to do. I'll tell you what. I'm going to create. It was a make work project. I was like, how about this? What if we did like little teeny weeny sketches and you basically sort of produce those? And you were like, yeah, all right, sure. And so that's why like the first 100 crap shots is like basic. I mean, I'm involved. Kathleen's involved because we were all living together, obviously, but it was sort of your purview to like
my brain infection.
Yeah, to like get them. I think at least 2 of them involve brain infection. We were doing 3 days a week back
Jeez.
then. Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
That's wild
for the
to
crap
think
shots.
about.
Well, yeah, because they were kind of like primordial TikToks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Or Vines.
Yeah, some of them were very short.
Yeah, I mean, like short format stuff is really great because it's very limited, and you have to like set up, develop punchline in very short order. So I like it a lot. So.
At time of recording this, we actually just cleared our longest crap shot ever. It's like 2 minutes 44.
Yeah, I'm the hostage negotiator.
Finally. All right, listen up.
No, the hostage negotiator. I don't want to talk to you. Let me talk to the hostages.
Hello?
What can I do for you?
Oh, well, I'd like to get out of here. And...
Whoa. We're a couple of stops away from and. Let's not even talk about and. Let's start with getting you out. I mean, everything's going on in there. Is everything okay? Are you getting water? Are they giving you food? Hold on. You're getting food and water and air conditioning, and you want to leave for free? Okay, Rockefeller. Am I to believe that you work at this bank, so you're getting paid for this? You're probably getting danger paid too, or overtime or something. No. I'm sure you are. I mean, I'm just saying, it could be worse. Jeez, what do you want from me? You have the choice between sparkling and still. Okay, interesting. I have a couple of these, and you have the ability to speak to me, which means you're not gagged, which is already a couple of phones above the usual hostage scenario. Okay, well, this is a negotiation. What can you do for me? Well, as a matter of fact, I was recently turned down for a working application. If the bank wanted you on. Is no, stop. You got a hot now. We got, and I'm going to that. Okay, looks like we got a guys coming in there, and I know we had our differences, but hey, stay safe, okay?
Oh, you too.
I do that all the time. Someone's like, this is just a sketch. And I was like, well,
what are you going to do about it?
I mean, yeah, we used to have, I think we did some sketches that were probably that length or shorter.
They were comparing on the Discord. They were looking at like what's listed on the wiki as a sketch and looking at the 10 shortest ones that are shorter than this crap shot that we just put out.
That's funny.
But like some of those sketches is, speaking of the University Press, some of those sketches is like those 3 adaptations of Bob the Angry Flower comic strips that we did.
Right. Holy blap.
Yeah, exactly. Because I asked at one of the conferences, I asked Steve Notley, I was like, hey, we do sketches. Could we use some of these comics as like sketch scripts, and obviously we'll credit you? And he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Sure,
I'm trying to remember
go for it.
if I was there for that filming or if I remembering it or not, because that was shot at your parents' place, wasn't it?
A lot of early stuff.
I don't think you were.
I was probably there for other ones.
It's entirely possible.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, maybe not that one.
I remember for Commodore Hustle, we did the gag where Tim left. Tim was moving out of town.
Yeah.
He getting married and having a kid, and
as far as I'm aware,
going off and doing all this stuff. And so we did a thing where he was like, because it was the second season of Commodore Hustle.
Yeah.
And we had a whole thing with him, a character arc of him joining the group in the first season.
Yeah.
You're one of us now, Tim.
Yay. And then immediately once he joined the group, he was like,
now that you're no more special than I am, I've realized you're terrible people.
I'm leaving. And then he left. And then Alex just like, oh, how long were you down there?
I lost a contact lens.
You wear glasses.
Rises out of the floor.
Rises out of the floor.
With like a lift noise.
On an industrial lift, yeah.
That was the first Magic sketch, too.
Was that seriously the Magic episode?
Well, I was doing card tricks. Did it involve actual like Magic the Gathering?
You know, I could totally get into that.
What the hell?
Anybody feel like playing a game?
I know that was a thing. Was that episode?
I don't know. I'm trying to check right now. The funniest thing about that was definitely that after that episode, after the It's Magic episode aired, was Nelson before we knew him really. Like we kind of knew Nelson, but like not really. But like, you know, is the guy that worked at Yellow Jacket was like, after seeing that video where Alex does like the sleight of hand to turn like a doom blade into a lightning bolt or whatever, was like, hey, do I actually need to watch this guy at FNN? And we're like, no.
Yeah. I mean, one, he wouldn't do that. And you know, doing it with like playing cards and doing it with Magic cards would be like a whole different thing.
It's a little different. I mean, there might be applicable skills, but
also I think we did some like camera tricks in there too.
Probably
some like cuts and things.
Well, I do remember at one Desert Bus you were doing. You kind of had a deck of cards as a fidget during Penn and Teller's call-in, and at one point,
it's like, oh, you know, big ups to the guy doing waterfalls. I was like,
yeah, it's like, yeah, you just said something like, oh, by the way, I like your waterfalls.
Nice. I've sadly not kept up with doing those, but I still have fidget things.
Nice cube.
Thanks.
You are correct, by the way. That was the Magic episode.
How
when
about
Tim
them
leaves and
apples?
Alex arrives, and then we did a whole video about Magic.
Yeah, the video that altered the course of lives.
Yeah, I
no
mean,
kidding.
The goodie bags at 2010 PAX, as I recall, that changed the course of the site.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can play Magic. Wizards put demo decks in all the swag bags.
I don't think so. I've still got all my cards from grade 6. Last thing I need is more.
Yeah, especially now that we can actually afford to buy cards.
Oh, come on, let's at least see what's in these packs.
4 for Chandra's Outrage, that's 4 damage to your Nether Horror and 2 to you. Oh, suck!
Guys, the line is moving.
And now we're all playing.
If people aren't familiar, PAX that year had starter sets of Magic cards in the goodie bags for attendees.
There are these little like half decks.
Yeah, 30 card decks.
30 card decks, yeah.
Yeah.
And we just started like playing it in the line while we were waiting.
And it was very like it was definitely like, oh, haha, Magic the Gathering. Right? Like, oh yeah, right, I remember Magic. Ha ha ha. You know, oh, they're still doing stuff. Okay, sure. You know, like, okay, let's try this. And I was like, wait, this is actually sweet. There was a period of time when Morgan and Bill and I were living together where Morgan was trying to get into Magic and the rest of us just roasted him incessantly for it.
Ouch!
We were just like, nah, dude.
He actually brought that up when I contacted him.
Excellent. That's very funny.
Like, hey, this was hurtful.
Yeah. That's sort of how things came about, and then things just sort of kept on happening. Like
It persisteth.
Both involved in in stuff for many years there.
It was fun work. It was compatible with school, which was a big thing because I was in school 5 days a week. But we filmed on Saturdays and sometimes like Friday afternoons. So I was able to like be around for that and collect a little bit of extra money while doing it. It just meshed very naturally, and it felt like a good creative outlet while I was doing a very kind of like analytical and technical degree. It let me do like
goofy stuff.
Yeah, goofy stuff, which was a huge like mental release valve.
Yeah, I mean, and I just have like chaos brain, so it adapts very readily to the kind of content you guys are creating.
I do still occasionally refer to what we do rather self-deprecatingly as making butt jokes on the internet. You know, if it needs to be boiled down. We don't need to get too deep in on it if you want, but for a while there, Alex, you stepped back for a bit. Round about a little after this time, like sort of mid-2010s. 2012, I think. You were justifiably, Paul and I will have talked about this earlier in the episode, but justifiably annoyed with the way that things were going with The Escapist.
Yeah, it was not ideal.
It was not a good time. It was definitely the dark chapter.
And it was also like, I think work at the site was taking a more primary role than perhaps technically it should have in terms of my income. But it was always work that I felt able to do. Like it was something that I could always find the spoons for, because like I had my own stuff going on. So I think I just had to be like, hey, I need to earn some more money so I don't starve. That got ironed out eventually.
I mean, I'm glad that I am glad that you are still here and still participating and doing stuff.
Somehow
I love that.
It's honestly very bizarre being in this space, like, and knowing that I have some small involvement with like it coming to exist. Yeah, I still haven't quite grasped that. Maybe this will be the year for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I never lost the sort of interest in doing that kind of content. Like I've always had, like I said, a brain full of bees that needs places to go, and it wouldn't be till like I want to say 2016 that I sort of started doing my own like graphic novel work, which is starting to be a more primary focus for me. But I do really like remaining connected to the site.
I too am glad that you are.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Everyone brings a unique energy.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, maybe now that we're settled in the new space, I think I'm kind of looking forward to a lot of the possibilities that we have coming up. We have such capabilities now; it's kind of redonkulous.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm really pleased with sort of where things are at. Do you have any particular memories over the years of things that really sort of stick out to you, either of you, of specific videos or shoots or?
The smell of the basement when we were shooting Daily Drop.
Right.
It will never leave my mind.
Right.
That did have a unique smell, didn't it?
It was horrendous.
Have you been tested?
Now, Daily Drop, that was something we did for The Escapists.
Yeah.
It was just sort of an idea that we brought to them, and we rented a camera and did all this stuff for it. And obviously you show up in the show. Like I think
Crowbar.
I think you and me are the only ones who are actually like on camera ever in the thing. Yeah. And you also did a lot of the editing for Daily Drop, didn't you?
I think so.
I can't remember. It would have been us. This is when you and I were living at the place that my parents had bought and hadn't moved into yet.
I do remember doing captions for like one of the highlight reels, so maybe that was a thing that I did, because I retitled everything something stupid. Like I wrote, it's like MacBook when it was the like toy computer falling.
Right.
Stuff like that. Frappa-lappa-lappa-lappa-lappa-lappa-chino.
I also remember, there was the thing with like, the Daily Drop stuff would would drop and then break, and if it didn't break properly, it would be like crowbar.
Just crowbar it.
And then there was like, I just remember they're doing the thing of the dropping the cat.
Yes, that was the one I was going to bring up.
And just like, and you know, because obviously we were very concerned about the safety of the cat.
Yeah.
It was less a drop and more like a long step for the cat. Like the cat didn't really seem to be.
It just went.
It's just like, ooh, but it still looked super neat on camera. Like it, but then it goes like, crowbar.
Yeah, just kidding.
And then it cut to you like on the computer editing and being like,
had you going there for a while, didn't I?
Just kidding.
Oh wow, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember that
good.
fake out, but I didn't remember how it was resolved.
I completely didn't remember that at all.
Watch it
I love
again.
that there was once, maybe just once, where we had the crowbar. I think it was the condom filled with pudding, where the crowbar also didn't work, and so we had to move to cinder block.
Cinder block. We're just like,
Yeah.
it's just you can't see anything because it's.
Oh, it all just goes out the side.
Other content creators have really taken the slow-mo camera stuff a lot further. Although I do sometimes wonder what kind of silly twists and escalations we could add if we were to ever do more of it.
Yeah,
it's always
like if we went the hydraulic press or the red hot steel ball.
These are all that's exactly what I had in mind, right? I was like, I think people would like a YouTube channel where you go there every day and there's a new video of something being dropped in slow motion. Because my thought was like, when you watch Mythbusters, the slow-mo stuff is so cool, and there's 20 minutes of padding before they'll show you the footage because they know it's so cool.
Yeah.
And then they did a show on Discovery that was just slow motion stuff, and it still had like 10 minutes of dicking around before it showed you the good stuff. And I was like, let's just do this. And it's exactly the same sort of thing that like the hydraulic press channel or the super hot steel ball does. Like it's exactly that same sort of thing where it's like, let's get in, let's get to the stuff, and let's do it. And I don't know if either of you know this, but Daily Drop is the direct inspiration for the slow-mo guys.
Really?
What?
Yeah. You're welcome.
I did not know
they
that.
mentioned that?
Yeah, so Gavin had already been doing some high-speed photography stuff. In fact, like professionally, that's like what his job was outside Rooster Teeth. And there's an episode of the Rooster Teeth podcast from way back where Bernie, specifically referencing Daily Drop, says to Gavin, you have to get on this and do something proper or these people are going to do it. Like these people are already doing it. You need to do this.
Wow.
And like
How prophetic.
Yeah, specifically Daily Drop. And I only found out about that years later, and I was like, I wish we'd stuck to it. You know, I wish we'd kept doing it. But it was so expensive, and the camera was not good. Like we could barely afford the like reasonable camera.
Yeah.
And
that was like 4,000 or 5,000.
It was really expensive.
Right.
We shot for like 3 days.
I shot for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember being in that basement and just like, you were all into Magic cards, so I was getting back into Magic cards, and I like had recovered some of my old Magic cards from home, from my parents' home, which was still in Prince George, and was like, fine, I've got this deck that I can put together. And I remember sitting in that basement while you guys were filming it, opening packs of LRRA.
Whoa.
Because we would have been shooting Daily Drop like right after we all got back into it, because it was right near Yellow Jacket, the location.
Yeah.
I like how everything turns back into magic.
Yeah.
It's
would have been right around that same time. Holy moly!
There has to be an alternate future where everyone got back into, I don't know,
Pogs,
World of Warcraft, Beyblades.
You know, we did a few things. We did like fun with microwaves.
Oh yeah,
and we did a few other sort of vaguely science, but more, you know, just the
It's more like that-
let's see what happens when we do this thing.
Yeah, it's like that pop sci where it's like we don't have a hypothesis or anything. We just want to do something with electricity or fire.
And it was always one of those things where, you know, we did stuff with that, but and at various times over the years we've, you know, talked about, oh man, we should like go back and try some of that stuff again. But I mean, we're sort of at the point now where there are so many other very, very talented YouTubers who have really like laser focused in on that. They like you can't you can't really escalate it from.
I suppose
from where people have done it already without getting into like actually seriously dangerous stuff that we don't want to do.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't know what else you could do with vaguely industrial or scientific equipment to enter that niche anymore. Like, could you just make a channel called Will It Lathe?
Right. I mean, we're already at the point where YouTubers get like in trouble for, blowing things up and not without like notifying proper authorities.
I think the only place we can go there is to like talk to Mark Pauline of SRL and get him to loan us the machine he has that like throws 2x4s at like hundreds of miles per hour.
Oh, a planer?
That sounds amazing.
After a fashion.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, it just reminds me of when I was working in Prince George out of university for the first time. I was working at a halfway house for kids coming out of youth detention.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the programs that we had was they would go and work in a planer mill on the weekend, just doing cleanup, right? Like sweeping sawdust.
Yeah.
And I would go and like do that with them. And one of the rooms with one of the planers in it, the wall on the opposite, like on the outside of the planer, had a board-shaped divot in the steel wall where something had been jammed and then like come loose.
I believe
and it was always like whoever was doing the orientation was like, all right, come here, let me show you something.
Look at this.
That is why we don't like, that is why we take safety seriously. That is why you use your locks. That is like why you don't stand here.
Yeah, do you think your rib cage is stronger than this wall?
Yeah.
I believe that's called kickback, and it happens with table saws as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never stand directly behind the workpiece.
So
it made an impression.
Oh, really?
Oh,
you did that by accident just now? Come on,
those
man.
are the worst.
Get out.
So now, Cameron, you're doing your chemistry degree, and you've finished that.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I recall that you went. Did you go? You went sort of away on like a work thing for the summer.
What I was
for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, for 2 summers, I was able to get a job with an oil company in Calgary doing public affairs, which had nothing to do with my chemistry degree, although it was like tangentially related because I could talk about, like when somebody, I will get into how it became relevant, but it was mainly to do with my English degree.
Right.
Because I did have experience working with NGOs, working with government, working with
technical writing and that kind of
technical writing, and like just knowing how to like speak to media was kind of remains one of my proficiencies. And I didn't, my joke about taking that job was that not only it taught me that not only do I have a price, but it's very competitive. Right. And I like to think that at least some part of my indolence and negligence was responsible for that pipeline failing and not being put through. Because they paid reasonably well and had no job for me to do other than doing like vague research and writing puff pieces for the company newsletter.
Sweet.
But I assume they got a tax write-off on it. So yeah, I was away for 2 summers in 2011 and 12.
Wow, yeah, I remember that now.
So like at what point because I mean you're doing a ton of work for LoadingReadyRun now, and at what point do you feel like you transitioned from being a student who was who was doing some stuff with LoadingReadyRun on the weekends to being sort of the crew?
I graduated university in 2014, though my degree says 2015. I finished
chemistry, not math.
yeah, exactly. I forget what happened exactly, but I think there was just some like kind of complication with credits. That summer, I spent a lot of time trying to find work in my field, and I had a couple of very good interviews where people like you have those job interviews where the interviewer seems to really like you, and afterwards they show you around the place and introduce you to the people that you will be working with.
Mm.
And then I never heard from any of them again. And I always wonder, if the question, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? I should not have answered with, I would like to go back to graduate school.
Oops.
Instead of the usual, like, well, I'll be in your job in 5 years. Ha, ha, ha. Or something equally servile. So I think that summer I wound up just trying to take on as much work as I could, because you have a student loan to service, and I have rent in Victoria, which, is a lovely place to live, but it costs about $1 billion per second.
Mm-hmm.
And it's creative work that I enjoy doing.
It was January 2014 when we launched as part of the Year of Lure, that we also launched all the streams.
Yes.
And so that was when we had, basically everybody got their own show.
Yeah.
Right. So that was when a Swiftly Tilting Cameron started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, IDDQ Dirt.
No, I obviously remember IDDQ Dirt, but a Swiftly Tilting Cameron was like, you're right. Cameron plays games and gets angry at them.
Yeah, because they're all terrible. I played XCOM a lot. And interestingly enough, I did XCOM and got on board with it at a time when Firaxis was looking for streams to do official work with.
Dang.
Oh, right.
And I wound up finding a job with a local tech company and had to basically choose between doing like partnered sponsored streams with Firaxis or taking on like actual work at a tech company. And I chose incorrectly because that place sucked to work at. Like it was one of those places.
I do not remember this.
Yeah, no, like they make booking software or whatever.
Okay.
And I was doing QA and they had no idea what they wanted a QA person to do. I was reporting to 5 people out of a staff of like 13, each of which had different things that they wanted me to do.
Ooh.
And the CTO listened to extremely loud techno music with his office door open and wouldn't wear headphones.
That's really annoying.
Yeah.
You know what this is weirdly reminding me of?
Mm-hmm.
There was one kind of corporate gig that LRR, I don't know if we did it officially in the capacity as LRR, but you remember that like video at the coffee shop?
It was a training thing.
The training video.
The Serious Coffee videos.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, serious. Right, yeah.
Yeah, this was like a proper, like, we are functioning as a video production house for a client.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
we sort of, at one point we were like, hey, maybe this is something that we could do. We only ended up doing like 1 or 2 videos.
We've never done a lot of white labeled stuff, but that was one of them.
Style. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my most vivid memory of that was the phrase "batitude."
Oof.
Which, yeah, I mean, that in some ways that maybe summarizes the kind of like different language that is spoken in sort of like corporate circles, and you're just like, ooh.
There's a lot fewer Serious Coffees out there now than there were at that time.
Not our fault.
Not our. Yeah.
Our training was good.
You can never prove it.
Yeah.
Oh, but that does remind me, like you had asked, or we had been talking about like my chemistry degree in relationship to that job, and the only like time that it ever came up was an engineer was like giving a rundown on a project to the PR people or the public affairs people, and everyone I worked with was just like this ruthlessly competent person with a graduate degree in like public affairs, and they were like professional, and it was one of those environments where if you don't know who the useless person is in your office, it's you. Yeah. It was like, it's me. This is interesting, right? Because they were all so good at their jobs, but this engineer was giving them bad answers, and like one of the things that you can't ever do in public affairs is lie. You can elide the truth and you can talk around it, but if you ever tell a lie, you can get into like enormous trouble very quickly.
Yeah.
And I was able to like point out that like you think you're giving us like a brief or like a good summation, but this is incorrect. And we wind up in confrontational situations enough where this will get us into trouble, right? And it will look bad because somebody will have actual expertise and ask a question, will give a bad answer, and then they'll just like excoriate us for it. And
so you knew enough to know that he was not giving the was sort of glossing over some important stuff.
Yeah, and it was something to do with like, you know, the liquefaction of natural gas. After that, like, I remember one of the PA people was like, "Could you explain global warming to me?"
That's the complete minutes from the 2014 UN Climate Change Summit.
I don't get it.
Well, have you read them?
No.
They're horrifying.
Yo.
How much time you have?
Jeez. Yeah, sit down.
Yeah. And so I actually like used my office window as a whiteboard and explained like IR coupling.
I love the idea at somebody at the oil and gas company being like, "Could you explain global warming to me?" And then you go through the whole thing and they're like, "Oh, geez, that's really bad."
Yeah.
Are we the monster?
We should do something about that.
I remember
we should stop doing this.
At one point,
nobody ever explained it to us.
We kind of had a free afternoon, so we were cleaning up the office and taking a bunch of like old binders whose contents had been digitized and getting rid of them. And one of them was labeled climate change policy. And I asked one of my coworkers about it, and she was like, "Well, you'll notice it's empty."
Jeez.
When did we start doing Talking Simulator together? Because I feel like we should definitely touch on that.
2016, 2017?
Broadcasting live from USA East Chicago. It's Talking Simulator.
Hey, we're huge dweebs. We're just the biggest
Oh
dweebs.
man, are we? Oh,
it was good.
So you came here for high culture, and
So I was looking briefly, before we get to that, I was looking briefly at the page for Swiftly Tilting Cameron just now, and it reminded me that one of the things that happened during this period of time was also when the Dark Souls bug
Oh yeah, hit all of us.
caught people.
Oh,
and so,
yes.
Which I find this is funny because again earlier Paul and I will have been talking about doing stuff for The Escapist, and if there's one particular thing that carries on from The Escapist, it's that I was watching an episode of Zero Punctuation. This is at the time we were generally aligned in the attitude that like Dark Souls games weren't worth the effort of looking into because the fandom was incredibly bad and were just doing their own games a disservice because they were like the impression you got was these games are so hard and unfair and that's great, and it was like, oh, okay, then I'm not interested. And I watched the Zero Punctuation review of Dark Souls where he was like,
I'd say the turning point was some ways in when I thought maybe I'll try this boss again, or maybe I'll explore the 3 other areas that opened up after I frangled the sacred vest of Saint Bumnose, and then it hit me, that's Symphony of the Night thinking, and I love Symphony of the Night.
no, actually that's not why these games are good. All these nerds can't explain it properly. Here's why these games are good.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, I kind of want to try that. And Alex comes into the office one day and sees me and is like, why in the hell are you playing Dark Souls? And I was like, watch this episode of Zero Punctuation. And then you were like, oh, interesting. And you started playing it.
Yep.
And then Cameron was like, why are you both playing Dark Souls? And then we're like, because of this. And you're like, oh, interesting. And then it just sort of, and then here I am day one downloading Elden Ring, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
right?
so good.
Like my explanation of Dark Souls was the it's like trying to get into whiskey when the only people you know who drink whiskey are 15-year-old boys who talk about getting into their father's liquor cabinet on the weekend and getting totally smashed. Right?
I love this analogy, by the way.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you don't understand what you have. Right?
Yeah.
And you're clearly enjoying it.
Maybe.
And I feel bad for saying this, but you're doing it wrong.
In some ways, it's also a little bit like spicy food, where you have the people who do it for the sort of machismo. It's just like, look how much, anus destroyer sauce I can take. Oh, it's so hard. And then there's people who's like, this is a really, deep and complex, palate challenging thing.
Yeah.
So the main thing I remember about you playing Dark Souls. Oh, this might have been Bloodborne, maybe Dark Souls. Anyway, I remember because you were playing it on Swiftly Tilting Cameron or whatever. You're playing it a ton and getting really far in the game and all this stuff. And I remember coming in at one point and being like, "Oh, hey, you're just FYI, you're playing it, like through the preview of the capture card.
Yeah.
You can just like push this button and you can see the
actual
like real,
instead of
real
the half
feed.
second delay.
Yeah, but of course you've been playing it for like months, and so all your reflexes were off.
Yeah,
because you had the delay built into your.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah, it's like the actual result of training at 9 times gravity is that you can't judge anything anymore.
You just overshoot.
Yeah,
incredibly hard.
Your first episode of Talking Simulator, by the way, was May 2016.
Right,
and it was Dark Souls.
We came here for high culture. You're gonna get mid-tier culture
at
on this show.
Like maybe yogurt tier culture.
We're gonna get like all your probiotics. We're gonna get them sussed out.
Carnival, 23 months.
Here we go.
Carnival and the Architect
X.
33 months in a row.
We'll be here for a little while. I like this little bug in the corner now.
Oh yeah, the
storm count.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, hold on.
Wait, what do you? Wait, shit! I had one job.
What a perfect segue.
Yeah, that's how we wound up with the current like studio background screen for Talking Sim is the
it's still Ash Lake.
Yeah, it's Ash Lake.
Yeah.
I knew it was from Dark Souls.
But you didn't know that.
was. No, I knew it was Dark Souls. I forgot that it had just always been that.
Yeah.
For 7 years.
I mean, that's maybe like the perfect sort of game to start with, because we were just like, here's an opportunity to explain properly, what this phenomenon is and like what the big deal is. And also like how it's gotten like this less than stellar reputation from certain parts of the community.
Well, I remember the pitch for Talking Sim to external audiences was kind of rough, because a lot of people were expecting, like, they were familiar with our work as kind of like online comedians, and they were kind of expecting us to just like, they heard game criticism and were expecting us to just like roast games the entire time.
Right.
Like, oh, it's for me to poop on.
No, that came later with Watch and Play.
Yeah.
Which that was
get you a man who can do both.
Yeah.
So that was originally an episode of IDDQ Dirt, because I'd just seen Prayer Warriors on an AGDQ stream.
Good God.
And was like, I want to wait, Alex, I got to show you this. Hey, Cameron, come have a seat. Like you joined us, I think, partway through.
Yeah. Well, one of my fondest memories from that stream was when, like, in the latter third, I guess, it cuts from whatever the hell it was doing to you become a little tiny helicopter. And I just went silent. And both, I think, Cam started laughing first. And it was that really, like, unhinged cackling.
Oh no! Now what? Literally crying now.
It was like a fear response. Like it was laughter.
Yeah.
But it was like, what's happening to my brain?
Like,
great.
That would happen to you in a Call of Duty game or something, right? Like whatever, you're flying a helicopter now.
But yeah, it was just such a wrench.
Yeah, but seeing it rendered in the Quake engine or whatever Prayer Warriors was
They
using.
probably made it from scratch out of like scripture notes or something.
Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls contains a functional 3D engine.
It's like John 16, go to, Luke 40 or something.
Also, I just really appreciate that you and I share a lot of our sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like our appreciation for extremely technical ephemera.
There's enough overlap there with like technology and history and military stuff and just like other weirdo esoteric things. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing with Let's Nope. Is that was a stream that I originally did that one with Kathleen.
Yeah, that was actually like a Kickstarter bonus thing, was that you and Kathleen would play Outlast.
That was lots of fun.
Yeah.
I remember lots of shouting.
Oh yeah. And I've floated, like there was like a new Outlast game coming out, and I was like, hey Kathleen, you want to join on with the Let's Nope? And she's like, no, I don't. And she's like, it was funny. It was really good. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Doesn't enjoy being scared. So, but yeah, then it was when we turned Let's Nope into a full stream.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
It was Alex and Adam, wasn't it?
No, I think
Was it you and I? Who was
Or was
on
it-
Let's Nope initially?
was
Was
it
it just
Ben?
you? Was it Ben from the beginning? I don't remember anymore.
Why
now.
don't I remember that? I've definitely done it with Ben a lot.
Yeah.
Which they're just going to take as a pull quote. And also Adam.
The
two
first
of
one
them.
was the Outlast one. Then there was you and some of your friends playing Silent Hill. Then it was you and Beej playing Viscera Cleanup Detail. Then you and Surge played Condemned.
That's a good one.
Then our friend Mia joined you for Doorways. Cameron joined you for Darkwood. So it was you and guests.
Right. Okay.
So we cycled it for a while.
Kathleen did come back for the Outlast DLC.
Right.
The horror game thing is an interesting area because, I mean, I know Ben and Adam have talked about it before, where you do kind of get sort of inoculated against
At this
the horror games.
At this
thing.
point, like between that stream and watch and play, it's there's very little that I haven't seen and that like I'm not able to predict.
Yeah, it seems like there's a disappointing overlap between horror games and things that could go on watch and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I could probably do an entire episode or podcast about that, but like, it's the same as it is in horror movies. I think
That's true. Like horror movies are a kind of an indie staple.
I
As
have
well.
a theory for that, for why horror movies are so crappy and like horror games are so crappy. Broadly speaking, as a type of media, like a genre of media, I think it in some ways represents the most bang for your buck in terms of a spectacle. Because like all you have to do is turn the lights off, throw some fake blood around, and get some co-ed to take her shirt off, and you have a horror movie. And that's like really, really easy to do with no money at all. Well, it's like you can get that done, but to do it well.
And I think they're actually, I mean, sort of going a little bit off, but talking about like, I think because like horror and comedy are the two things that show up all the time in sort of indie low budget movies. And what I think is useful about both of those is that there's a very objective measurement of success.
Screams or laughter.
Yeah, in the sense that whereas if you're doing like a really powerful drama, whether people are silent because they're so deeply affected by it or because they're asleep and bored, it's kind of hard to tell.
It's a lot harder to gauge reaction for
but
that.
But yeah, it's like this horror movie, the special effects were terrible, and the acting wasn't very good, but there was a core there that really did something to people and got them afraid, got them surprised or interested. And same with comedy. We know better than most that low budget comedy can work quite well.
There's also maybe effects. I mean, horror and comedy, like just movies and media in general, has this sort of like so bad it's good scale. Although we came up with this concept. I don't remember when I first heard of this or who it was that we came up with it. We called it Pac-Man syndrome, where something will continue like getting worse until it like exits the side of the screen and re-enters as good.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it can continue going, exit again, and re-enter as dog shit.
Right.
Yep.
So it'll undergo this sort of flip, because like there's definitely movies that I've watched that are so bad they're good, and then there's ones that are just awful.
Yeah.
Right.
Bad, they're bad.
Yeah.
Well,
and that the same is true of games. Like sometimes they're just unplayable and boring, and those are awful. I hate them. My favorite games to play on like watch and play are ones that are like functionally broken, where they are playable in a state that lets you explore a lot of their like shabby qualities in a way that's fun, or they just have mechanics or aspects of it that are easy to exploit or silly or what have you.
Or where, I mean, it's always like, especially for games where there's clearly a sort of passion behind it. Like somebody did care. They failed at what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But it's clear that this wasn't just like a asset flip whatever.
Yeah.
To try to like trick people into buying something.
The worst games for watch and play are the ones that think they're being clever by being self-aware of how bad they are.
Oh, those are
right.
Just
because those are never
terrible.
Those are never fun. But if it was being made in total seriousness and just isn't good, those are fascinating and very entertaining to play.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the same with when we were doing Unskippable, right? It'd be like if someone was being like, "Oop-a-doo, I'm doing a funny thing," and it didn't really work. But if someone was being like absolutely sincere,
and
it was like just
that's definitely
dire, it's much funnier.
That's definitely like how I think it works, because like there was a run of movies in, I want to say the like mid 2010s or something, where they did stuff like do you remember The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra?
Yeah.
Where they like purposely tried to make a campy horror film, and it was like, I think there was something like overly engineered about it. That was my opinion. Where it's like you can't manufacture that kind of cheese.
Yeah.
Because it has to be made in earnest.
Yeah, that's definitely, there's a certain authenticity. As a side note, I love that you talk about the Pac-Man thing for a game. I love that it's like, or for a movie, I love that it's like the idea that it sort of wraps around, but just calling that like Pac-Man, like
instead of Ouroboros or something.
It's just like that's a relatively minor part of the game of Pac-Man.
But it's
there's just like, oh, it's like a Pac-Man, so it's like chasing ghosts or
no, it's
whatever.
Like that thing
it's
where
just,
you just like it wraps.
In the industry, we call those periodic boundary conditions. Just to add in my own 2 cents, I would say the success condition of a horror game or a horror film or any kind of horror media is its ability to haunt you after it is over.
Oh, like a ghost.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, Anne Radcliffe sends the word that horror and terror are two distinct things, and terror is the thing that you flinch away from, and horror is the thing that you can't look away from. And, both are fun. But horror is the thing that you want to look away from but cannot.
Interesting.
Like,
right. And I always found that definition helpful for when I'm thinking about it. It's one definition.
Yeah.
It can be useful or not. But all of the like horror movies that I've seen that I've found really effective are the ones where you're like, yeah, that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I'm going to be thinking about for a while.
Speaking of,
things
that you can't look away from or horror. I mean, getting back to the ostensible topic of this podcast.
Oh yeah.
We're in the 20th anniversary, 2023 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see yourselves in 5 years? No, but I mean, there's an aspect that both of you are working for Loading Ready Run, among other things.
Mm-hmm. Among Us.
And obviously, it is. I guess there's something that you are excited to do with Loading Ready Run in the future, or a direction that you're excited for Loading Ready Run to be going to in the future?
I'm looking forward to doing more fabrication stuff with Ian, and probably trying to expand that, because I love tinkering and building things, and it's also just like Tinker Tailor's a lovely, comfortable stream. It's just like we can just sort of shoot the shit and work on stuff.
As somebody who is usually running the tech on Tinker Jailer, I don't think it's I don't think it's a surprise to say like it's a weird stream for us. Like it doesn't quite fit in our normal schedule, in like it's not sort of ostensibly.
Yeah.
It's not playing a game. It's not sort of ostensibly funny.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
I mean,
part of why I like it. Honestly.
I also really like it, and I like how it sort of diversifies our content.
Yeah.
And we've always been very big on doing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that was positive or negative, it depends on certain factors.
You have to take risks and try things, because otherwise you will end up like, doing the same thing until the end of time, until it becomes like so routine that people hate it.
I don't think I don't think we'll ever become, a fabrication channel.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I like the idea of I really like that that we have that, and the idea of having more.
Yeah, I think
interesting things to do in that area. I'm definitely in
maybe
favor of.
Related to what you were getting at. That's, I think, a big reason why I stepped away from some of the previous content that I'd been a part of, which is just like I really enjoyed working on it, but I never want to be like on something forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I did a bunch of Commodore Hustle, and I was like, this is great. I respect the choice to continue making it because the fans love it and it's, a thing, but it's just like I always want to be trying something new.
Thinking back on things, we do a lot of stuff before it becomes popular.
Mm-hmm.
We're tastemakers or, trailblazers in some way.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's arrogant or inaccurate to actually claim that.
There's always that like flip side. It's like, oh, I was into this before it was popular. It's like I was into this before it was popular. And the flip side of that, which is, yes, it wasn't popular when you did it.
Yes, yeah. It's like to our own detriment. We were doing this before it was cool.
Yep.
It was possibly not cool because we were doing it.
Yeah. And then we stopped doing it, and then it became cool. I don't know if there's a coincidence there.
It's like, oh, this is kind of hurtful. But like, I really enjoy the things that I do here quite a lot. Talking Sim, I think, is a really valuable stream and form of content because it's not something that occurs very frequently. There is game criticism. Not a lot of it occurs in the form of live streams. Like the guys, the people from Waypoint have a new remap. And they do like game criticism live streams.
Cool.
But there's not a lot else out there. And game criticism is one of those places that is kind of suffering a lot of cuts and is suffering quite a lot.
I will always bang the drum that media literacy is so important.
Oh my God.
It is getting worse out there.
Yeah. And just having a platform that allows me to flex my old English degree a little bit in service of a medium that I really enjoy and think is valuable is really important to me. So thank you for indulging me in that, even if it's not like an enormously successful stream.
I mean, that's always been the thing here, for better or worse, is that it's sort of like, we have the capability to do this thing, and we, more importantly, have people that are really interested and committed to doing this thing. So let's do that, right?
Well,
like if you're like I'm done with it, then it's like, okay, then we'll stop doing it, right? Like we're not going to be like, no, you must keep producing this show. But at the same time, it's not going to be like, you gotta get those numbers up,
That is one of the nice aspects of working here is that like I've never felt that sort of performance pressure that you hear about from, particularly places like Hollywood, where it's just like they chew people up and spit them out.
We've never had the viewership numbers like visible during this wasn't a conscious decision either, but I'm glad. But it was like we've never had viewership numbers visible like while we're live, right? Because it's like I don't want to. I don't actually want to think about how many people are watching. I just want to do my. I don't want to do my job. I just want to try and be entertaining and whatever, and then afterwards go like, oh hey, neat.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is a creative outlet for me, and I really appreciate it. I get to write. I get to be stupid with people I like and respect.
There's an enormous range of stuff we're able to do within the framework of the site, which is, part of, I think, what's kept me around is that I can make those pivots to different things. Like, I don't know if many people know this, but a lot of the graphics for live, I do.
So the stuff that shows up on the monitor.
All the monitor graphics and stuff.
But for Loading Ready Live, whenever there's like a little bug or logo, whatever, that's sort of my morning task after the meeting is to like make a bunch of those things. And I'm starting to sort of like zero in on the kind of like infographic style a little bit.
They're I think I think they're all good. I think they're improving. Like I dig it. I like the work you've been doing. So yeah.
There's a lot of places that you can go online for. I mean, there are entire websites, media empires built around watching people play video games. I still think even in the midst of that, we offer something really different in that we're kind of inherently charismatic people.
That's a weird thing to think about. Like,
yeah, I never would have figured that about myself.
I think I can hear that compliment from you, but like I could never assign it to myself.
Yeah, it's weird when people say like, "Oh yeah, you're just also an entertaining person to watch," and I'm like, "Really? Me?"
Yeah. Huh. We figured out very early on in our video games, particularly streaming career, that super sweet speed runs and top tier gaming wasn't going to be our brand.
No.
You can be funny or good, and
pretty much.
For those who can manage both, good for them. But most people are either very very good at the game or very entertaining to watch.
We definitely fill a niche in the sort of like video game market, I suppose, that like I'm very happy to be involved in, because like it attracts really pleasant people. Because man, there's some pockets of humanity out there, as Cam points out. But like the style of content we create lends itself to that sort of community building. So it's fulfilling.
By way of sort of moving towards a wrapping up, what kind of stuff do you both have going on beyond these walls? Obviously, Cameron, you have your own home stream. And what sort of stuff? I mean, apart from like mini painting and...
I have been playing through all the leaders of Civilization 6 in alphabetical order.
Wow.
I'm currently playing Chandragupta of India.
So you're not even very far through it.
I'm like 12.
How many leaders are there?
There's like 60, my dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Abraham, Alexander, Amanator, forgetting one.
A lot of
Batriu,
good old
Basil of the Byzantines, Basil II. Yeah, his thing is that whenever you build an entertainment district, you get a free cavalry unit, right? Like, so you build, like, you get a chariot out of your stadium, right? And by the end of the game, you're building a zoo and getting a tank out of it, and like that, which kind of breaks the immersion a little bit. I like to think that he's always building an arena and then just drafting whatever monster truck wins. So it's actually like extremely low key trashy.
That's good. That's really good.
Amazing.
And then you can just imagine like your leader, his PF or FPF is just him in the cab of this monster truck with like wraparound Oakleys. So, that's fun. I'm also, I swear to God, I am going to get this done. I am working on getting my honors thesis published.
Sweet.
Yeah. I did my work in computational chemistry, specifically density functional theorem, simulations of the optoelectronic properties of nanocomposite materials.
Get you.
Damn. All right. Sweet.
So like, you know, I could look at the LK99 paper and like understand some of it, which was kind of cool.
That is cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then Alex, you alluded to it earlier. But you've been working on your arts and your
super hard
graphic novels.
I've always been drawing like all my life. I come from a creative family, but it was only over the last like handful of years that I think I started getting really serious about it. And that's only continued. Like I'm working, doing commissions, doing comics, doing, you know, artwork and assembling those into PDFs that I sell. And that's like profoundly fulfilling work. And, you know, it's something that I'm very passionate about. And if I can get as many people's eyes on it as possible, that is always like very good for me, because like promotion is something I've struggled with.
Same.
And, yeah, I think like having the sort of intrinsic fan base of like working for the site has helped definitely as like a starting point. But getting my work out there and getting people to read it is has been tricky, particularly with, you know, things going on Twitter the way they are. It's difficult. But I'm growing more satisfied with the quality of work, particularly the comics. Like I get to put a lot of myself in it. It's kind of hilarious because like I almost ended up taking the sort of Oglaf route where I was like, I'm going to do a sexy comic, and it almost immediately turned into like world building and comedy. I was like, oh well, I tried. Yeah, if you get the chance, please read Space Shipping. It's like the best thing I've ever done.
It's very, very entertaining.
But yeah, that's been what I'm doing.
Sweet.
And there may be some overlap with things that I draw and the website, because I've certainly done bits of graphics, as I mentioned, and also like content for people in our periphery. Like I did some promo art for Nicholas McDonald's game Killbug and that sort of thing. So, you know, I'll be moving my stylus around.
I find that's always there's like a certain amount of predestination, but like, you know, finding out what you really want when you try to do something else, and all you can think about is like that always happens with me. like trying to do, you know, thinking about doing like something. You know, watching a movie or playing a game or TV show or something that's really serious and really enjoying it and being like, this is great, and really emotional and deep and stuff. But then whenever I think about doing something like that, I'm always thinking about like, oh, it'd be funny if this happened.
Yeah,
right.
And it'll be like, no, that would undercut the entire moment.
Yeah,
but it's the funny thing.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, that's I think gonna do it for this episode. It's been a pleasure to chat with both of you.
Always.
So, thank you, Cameron and Alex,
and
for
we'll see
joining us.
Whichever camera I'm looking at later.
Yeah. Bye.
Ew, TMI.